प्रिंटर की आवाज।
जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय गोपीजना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Madhava Radha, Madhava Radhe, Jaya Radha Madhava Radha, Madhava Radhe, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra, Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Mumukhyatvirandasya Kyaranchana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupak Padameham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shrirupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadeshatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Nitinamine Srivarshavanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojjala Premadya Sri Rupanuga Bhaktida Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Sri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddhapa सिद्धान्तद्वान्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बारसाम्बोधे पादाम्बुजायते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगावरायते गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जनप्रियः वैष्णवसार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशये नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते जयतां सुरतोर्पङ्गुर् मामन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वापदाम्भोजो राधामदनमोहनो दिव्यद्वृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमादः श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद्राधाश्रीलघु गोविन्ददेवो पृष्ठालिभिः स्मरामि श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भे वंशीवटतटस्थितः कर्षं वेणोसनैर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथः श्रीयस्तुनः तप्तकाञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे सर्वशास्त्राब्धिपीयूष सर्ववेदैकसत्फला सर्वसिद्धान्तरत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैकदृक्पद सर्वभागवतप्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिद्वान्तोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानन्दपाठान्य प्रेमवर्षक्षरायते सर्वन्दा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तुते मदेकबन्ध मत्सङ्ग्यन्मद्गुरो मन्महाजना मन्निस्तारकमद्भाग्यामदानन्द नमोऽस्तुते असाधु साधुता दायिन् अतिनीचोचितारक अनामुञ्चत् कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्नारित्कण्ठयो स्पृहा. So we were discussing Narad Vyas Samvad. One section of Narad Vyas Samvad is over, where Narada describes to Vyasa that you had to write one book. There is no other alternative for it. In spite of all the Vedic literatures, whatever you've written, if there is no glories of Krishna, there is no glories of bhakti, and there is no glories or description of pastimes of Krishna, then all the Vedic literatures, any words, any literature is useless. Even though Brahma Sutras describe Krishna in both ways, both negative and positive way, still Brahma Sutra tad darshanam kilam, because there is no description of the absolute truth directly. That is why there is no point in having such a scripture, which is philosophy, but ene vasu natushyeta, Vasudeva Katha. If there is no Vasudeva Katha, natushyeta, nobody will be happy, even though it is a big philosophy. Tad darshanam kilam. So this is the first verse, actually Narada speaks about it. He says that Bhagavato Amalam, Yasho Bhagavato Amalam, Ene vasu natushyeta manyeta darshanam kilam. And then he goes on saying, no, even though you might have described the glories of Krishna, but you have not described it enough. You should describe glory of Krishna and glory of Bhakti in every page, in every verse, in every word, in every akshar, in every alphabet. No, even though you have described about Krishna's pastimes, you have not described pastimes of Krishna to the extent it should be. Then he goes on saying that those descriptions which are not glorified by Krishna's pastimes, not decorated by pastimes of Krishna, they are like Vayasam Tirtham, pilgrimage of crows. So in one sense, all the Vedas, all the Puranas, the Brahma Sutras, they are like pilgrimage of crows, what you have written. So it's a very heavy statement. And then only those statements which are directly describing Krishna, even though they are improperly composed, we discussed that this is actually a description of prediction of ISKCON by Narada to Vyasa. Even they should be accepted by us because sadhus accepted. Shrinvanti gayanti grinanti sadhavaha. Because the subject matter is concerning Krishna, even though grammatically it is not properly presented, no problem. And what to speak of normal activity, descriptions of the Lord. Even the work which is not offered to Krishna, there is no use of it, because the work which is giving you liberation, even that work, that karma, naish karmya api, if that is not having bhakti in it, it's useless. Desireless work, unmotivated work, ahetuki karma, I mean, that is useless, because if there is no achyuta bhava, there is no devotion in it. Then goes on a few verses which says that Aho Vyasa, you are Amogadrik. Whatever you have written, it is glorious. But it is only glorious if you are writing one more book called Bhagavatam. Because whatever you have written, it is Mahabharat, the Vedas, the Gayatri Mantra, Vedanta Sutras, all the four can only be effective when there is Bhagavatam. That is why you have to go to Samadhi, Samadhina Anusmaraha. When you go to Samadhi, then what happens is Krishna will give you Smaran. All the entire pastimes, you are able to see Krishna directly in your pure devotional service in Prema Bhakti. So then you are going to describe Bhagavatam. That Bhagavatam is going to be the soul for other scriptures. That is why it is described in the Bhagavat Mahima, the glories of Bhagavatam. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam. The meaning of Bhagavatam is of Brahma Sutras is described in Bhagavatam. And Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatartha Nirnayaha. The meaning of Mahabharata is also described in Bhagavatam. Gayatri Bhashya Ruposo. This Bhagavatam is nothing but Gayatri Bhashya, the description of Gayatri. That is why the very first words, Dhimahi word comes. And Vedartha Parirambitaha. The meaning of Vedas are clearly described in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Vyasa, in spite of all your glory, that glory is going to be successful only when you write Bhagavatam. Then, if you don't describe this Bhagavatam, what is going to happen? People are going to study the Veda, the Mahabharata and all, but still their mind will be totally carried away by different subject matter which you have written. That is why on the name of writing Veda, Mahabharata, Puranas and benefiting the people, you have done a great misfortune for them. Because people are confused after reading the Veda. People are confused after reading the Puranas. Who is God? They don't know. In India, you can see the situation. There are many people who are very religious, very pious. For them, Janmashtami comes, Krishna is God. And after that, immediately Ganesh Utsav comes. Then Ganesh becomes God. Then immediately after some time, Navratri comes, then Durga becomes God. So then after some time, Christmas comes, then alcohol becomes God for them. So anyhow, things are going on. So you have to write a literature which is going to be very clear in the minds of people. Who is God? What are relations with Him? And how to approach Him? And what are the obstacles in His path? And ultimately, what is the goal? Now, Jugupsitam, you may say that, no, I have written the Mahabharata so that to attract the conditioned souls. The conditioned souls are interested only in politics. So I wrote a book on politics. And while writing a book on politics, I put philosophy in between. So they read politics. On the name of reading politics, they read the book called Mahabharata. In between, they read the Bhagavad Gita, and they become very happy. No, Narada says your argument is false. Because Svabhava Raktasya Mahan Vitikramaha. The Svabhava to enjoy matter is so strong that people would reject. Namanyeta Tasya Nivaranam Jana. Whatever restrictions you have put about sense gratification, they don't accept it. Because they are only interested in sense enjoyment. They'll only take that and they'll give up bhakti and only take up sense enjoyment. In this way, we discuss this further. That is why Vyasa, you write a book called Bhagavatam. Then Vyasa's argument was, if I write a book on Bhagavatam, which is so pure, which has nothing material in it, dharma projitaha, no dharma, no artha, no kama, oh, who is going to hear? Who is going to read? Narada says, no, there are people, vichakshanaha. Vichakshanosya tarhati veditum vibhor anantaparasya nivritata sukham. Those who are not interested in sense enjoyment, there are people existing in this world. There may be very few, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's all. Oh, you can count them on the fingertips, but still they are there. So you write a book which is exclusively meant for them. Then what about others? The mass of people, don't worry. When these people, vichakshanaha, pravartamanasya gunairanatmanaha, tato bhavan darshay chestitam vibhu. Then what happens? When these people who are intelligent, when they read the Bhagavatam, and after reading the Bhagavatam, when they describe Bhagavatam to others, out of relishing, they see how happy these people are. They have nothing in this world. They don't have anything in their life. They don't have anything material, but still they are so happy. It means they are getting higher taste. So mass of people, they follow them. In this way, Narada encourages Vyasa to write this Bhagavatam, which is pure. And now, somebody may say, if I read Bhagavatam, then people would just read the Bhagavatam and give up their responsibility, give up the dharma, uh, because it is so attractive. That bhakti is so attractive, they may give up dharma, being unqualified to. Narada said, don't worry, let them give up. Tektva sadharmam charanam bhajam harer bhajan apakvat patet tato yadi. Even though they are not pakka, apakka means no pakka, it's kacha. Still, they have done devotional service, they have done some bhakti. What is the problem? Patet tato yadi. Even though they fall down, don't worry. It's not a big thing. They have done bhakti. That's a big thing. Anyhow, people have already fallen down. So falling down is not a big thing. Already people are fallen down. So somebody is flying up and falls down. At least he's flown for some time. That is the idea of Narada. Yatra kvavabdha abhadram abhutamushya kim kuvartapto bhajatam sadharmataha. What is the use of performing dharma for lifetime and lifetime and not taking a bhakti? So then, uh, it's exactly the opposite of the instruction what Krishna gives in the Bhagavad Gita. Because the purpose of Krishna giving that instruction, Nabuddevedam Janayet, and the purpose of Narada telling is different. Narada is preaching pure devotional service, there Krishna is preaching a kind of a mixed devotional service. That is why intelligent person, there are intelligent people in this world, they want to go back home, back to God. Taseva hetu prayatitva kovido na labhyate brahmatyam paridaha. So even though the Vedas are giving some temporary destinations, lower destinations, they are really not encouraged. The real destination is to go back home, back to Godhead. Na labhyate. Now you say, what about if you, as long as you are living in this world, you require some enjoyment. Don't worry, enjoyment will come according to its own course. According to your karma, you will get it. Happiness and misery are already destined in your karma. You are not going to get 1 paisa more happiness, 1 paisa less happiness. 1 paisa more misery, 1 paisa less misery. They are going to come anyhow according to their own wish. Yad bhavyam tad bhavantu bhagavat purva karmanu rupam. Kulashekara says this point. Yad bhavyam tad bhavantu. Let it happen according to the way, according to its own wish. Purva karmanu rupam. Whatever is in my purva karma, happiness and misery, let it come accordingly. Neither I hate misery, neither I love happiness. Anyhow, both are actually nothing to do with the soul. Let it come and go. In this way, Narada tells Vyasa, you continue your life. Nava ejano jatu kachantana vrajen mukunda sevaya nyodanga samspatim param mukundang rupagonam puna vihat vichena sagraho jana. And I spoke about this verse, about the fall down. Because tektva sadharman charanamujam hare bhajan napakvaha. Patet, the word patet has been described. So the fall down of a devotee has to be discussed. Now here this word says the materialistic peoples fall down and the devotees fall down, both are not the same. Materialistic people, they don't fall down, they are only fallen down. And their suffering is different and the devotee suffering is different. That their suffering is because of their karma and devotee suffering is because of the will of Krishna. Though it may be according to karma, it is according to the will of Krishna. So that the devotee gives it the pride. What is that pride? I am a devotee. The pride of I being a devotee, that is the pride. I am doing devotion. So because of that, he thinks I am a better devotee than others. Always mind, it tricks us to convince us that I am better than the other person. So it always tricks in this way. So I want to prove that I am a better devotee than another person. So Krishna makes the devotee fall down because of his pride. He wants to wash off this pride. So Sparam Mukundagri, after falling down, he just remembers the happiness which he derived from embracing the lotus feet of Krishna. Actually, when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're embracing the lotus feet of Krishna. When you're doing service of Krishna, actually you're embracing the lotus feet of Krishna. And there's special happiness which comes in that. And that devotee remembers that happiness. Param Mukundang Rupaguhanam Punam. Vihadamichain na rasagrahojana. So they are being conquered by the ghost of Krishna consciousness. So they would not like to give up. They only desire that, oh Lord, I want to, I have a great desire to serve you. In this way, after speaking about the glories of bhakti, then Narada speaks to Vyasa about the knowledge. Jnana means to know the Lord is connection with the soul and its connection with the with matter. So now the connection with matter has been described here. Idam hi vishwam, this world. Idam hi vishwam bhagavani ver ivetaro. It is non-different with the Supreme Lord. Yato jagatsthana nirodha sambhavaha. Why it is non-different? Because it is coming from him. From him. Yato imani jatani imani bhutani jatani jivante. यतो इमानि भूतानि जायन्ते येन जातानि जीवन्ति यत् प्रलयन्तविषं विशन्ति तद् ब्रह्मा तद्विज्ञासस्वात् तैत्रोपनिषद says तद्धि स्वयं वेद भवान् स्थापिते. This whole world is manifest in him, and I know taddi bhavan, you are that Lord. Pradesha matram bhavata pradashitam. I only explained about this Lord to you. I'm going to show only a small portion of it to you. Then the 21st verse it goes, Tvam atmanatmanam aveti mohugadrik. Parasya pumsha paramatmana kalam. You are who? Paramatmana kalam. You are actually incarnation of the Lord. And Tvam atmanatmanam aveti amogadrik. Your knowledge is incredible. And ajam prajadam jagata shivayatam. And your whole birth, appearance in this world is for the purpose of benefiting the people. Mahanubhava vidayo digadyatam. I request you to write the glories of the Lord. Again, second time is instructing that you write Bhagavatam. Now, somebody may say, oh, if only bhakti, 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 you're just talking about bhakti. What about dharma? What about artha? And what about tapasya? What about tyaga? Don't worry. All these things come by bhakti. Idam hipamsas tapasas sutasya va svistasya suktasya ja buddhi dattayo vichityayo vichit avichutorthakaviber nirupito yaduttamashlogunanu. So all these things, whatever you may say, the Vedic activities like charity, like study, Vedas, tapasya, performance, sacrifices, all these things, chanting different mantras, they all nothing but one thing. What is it? Bhakti. They all culminate in bhakti, and without bhakti, they're all useless. And if you do bhakti, all the things are already there. So in this way, after speaking this, 23rd verse talks about Aham Hipurati Tabhavan Bhave Mune. This is where we start this is where we start for today's class. I just gave a brief overview of what we did previously because we had 3 days holidays. Holiday means everything goes from our mind. We have to connect ourselves. That is why it took a long time to give an overview of what we did in the previous sessions, reading those verses. And these verses are like gems. Actually, I recommend devotees to memorize the entire chapter. If not entire chapter, memorize the verses from 8 to 22. If you cannot memorize from all the verses from 8 to 22, at least you memorize a few verses. That is 9, 10, 11, and Tektva Sudharman, that verse, and also Tektva Sudharman, Nave Jano Jatu, 19th verse. 4 or 5 verses, if we can remember, it will be nice. Because this chapter is the seed of the entire Bhagavatam. If Narada would have not come and spoken to Vyasa, then we would not got the Bhagavatam, which is filled with prema. This Bhagavatam is actually filled with prema. Why? Because Narada came and spoke to Vyasa. Actually, Vyasa had already written Bhagavatam, 18 Puranas he had written. In that Bhagavatam was there. So after Narada's intervention, Vyasa, he takes the Bhagavatam which is already written and then he modified it. Ritvanu Karmya. So that is why the present format of Bhagavatam is a very high voltage. Sometimes people say, oh, you ISKCON devotees are speaking too much. It's high voltage bhakti. Yes, it is true. Because of Narad Vyas Samvad. It is the Narad Vyas Samvad, that is his fifth and the sixth chapter, which became the bija of the entire Bhagavatam. That is why we had to study this chapter very thoroughly, analytically to understand the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, after glorifying bhakti so much, Narada says, I will tell you the result of bhakti by practical example, myself, my life. So speaking about how you came into bhakti is not a new thing. Narada did it. How I came, how I became a devotee, and what is the power of bhakti? What is the power of chanting? If you want to know, then you can only know by the power of a devotee, the influence of a devotee. That is why Rupa Goswami, while glorifying bhakti, he glorified a bhakta, because the glory of bhakti is done by bhakta, because bhakta has the bhakti in his heart. So if you want to glorify bhakti, you should glorify bhakta. You want to know the effect of bhakti, you have to know the effect of a bhakta, how he got transformed. So now Narada gives his own story, because he was born in a very, very low class family, that is maid servant's son. That means he doesn't know who is his father. Just imagine. That means her mother was like such a destitute, such Dina, that everybody was just using her. And she also doesn't know who is the father of Narada in the previous life, a small boy. Then he talks his own story. He says, Aham puratita bhave bhavan mune, puratita bhave bhavan mune. So in the previous life, that too not this day of Brahma, in the previous day of Brahma, the last day, last kalpa of Brahma, the last day, and the previous day, the last Kali Yuga of Brahma. There, what happened? Dasyastu kasyachana vedavadinam. And I was a son of a maid servant. But fortunately, the maid servant, my mother in the previous life, she was serving in the house where the Brahmins were staying for Chaturmas. That was the only fortune which they have. That is the only fortune anybody can have. Association of devotees. Now, he says, Nirupito balaka eva yoginam Shrushane pravrashine vivikshitam. Pravrashi vivikshitam. They were living together. Pravrashi. That means for the Chaturmas. So for the Chaturmas, they were living in one house where, because the Brahmins gone traveling, the Brahmins, they were pure devotees of the Lord, and they were traveling, and they came for Chaturmas. So they came for Chaturmas at one place. They were staying at somebody's house, and in that house, Narada, as a small boy, would go along with his mother to wash the utensils, clean the place, like that. Hmm? Nirupitaha. Nirupitaha means he was totally engaged. Nirupito balaka eva yoginam. He was engaged in serving the Lord, serving the devotees of the Lord. Shushrushane pravrashini vikalpiga. Shushrushane. So this word Shushrusha comes at many places. We should know the meaning. Shushrusha means to hear. But how? With a humble attitude. So Shushrusha also means humility. But at the same time, Shushrusha also means service. So in this particular verse, the word Shushrusha the meaning is service. Sometimes the word Shushrusha is used for humility, and sometimes Shushrusha is used for hearing. So in this way, Vedavadiram, they were the followers of Vedanta, Bhakti Vedanta people they were. So this is how Narada starts his introduction to his life. Now Srila Prabhupada talks in his purport. The wonder of an atmosphere surcharged with devotional service to the Lord is briefly described herein by Narada Muni. It is not just a one glory, it is actually wonderful glory. The glory which creates the wonder. What is that wonder? A small boy, 5-year-old boy, maybe 6-year-old boy, association with the devotees, then what happens? He attains a spiritual body. He becomes Narada. How is it possible? It's wonder. So yes, it's wonder. Uh, how is it? So the son of most insignificant parentage. Srila Prabhupada talks. He was not educated. Still, because because his complete energy was engaged in service of the Lord, he became an immortal sage. Such is the power of action of devotional service. As I told you, the whole description now, why Narada tells his story, his own story, is to show the glory of devotion. And the glory of devotion can only be shown by the glory of devotee. That is why in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sri Rupa Goswami glorifies devotion by saying, Salokya Sasti Samipya Ekapyavatpyata Diyamanam Nagrinanti Viramat Sevaram Jana. So, Diyamanam Nagrinanti, my devotees will not accept any liberation because if there is no service there. So, they are talking about devotee. But the glory of devotee is the only way to glorify devotion. So here, to talk about what is the effect of devotion, Narada tells his own life. Now, of course, I'm not going to read the entire purport because you need to cover some part of it. The expert spiritual master knows the art of utilizing everything to glorify the Lord. Therefore, under his guidance, the whole world can be turned into a spiritual abode by the divine grace of the servant of the Lord. So, when the servant of the Lord, when they engage people in their service and Krishna's service, they know that by doing so, they will be purified and attain love of God. Now, this particular section which we are going to do, that is Narada's story, is very interesting. For that, we had to go to the first canto, second chapter also. I'm going to tell those verses where we have to go and see. Now, 24th verse. Te mayapeta kilachapalerbhake dante dritakridantake nuvartini chakruhu kripam yadyapitulya darshana Sushrushamane munayulpabhashini. Now, Narada talks about what happened when you are serving, when you went there. It's very technical, these verses are. We have to be Te mai apeta kila. When I was serving, all kinds of apeta kila chapale arbhake. Arbhaka means a boy. Chapala means all the chapala means the tendency of a boy to be restless. Chapale arbake. I gave up all kinds of chapalata of a small boy. Number one. Number two, Dante Dritakidantake. I had controlled my senses and Adrita Kridantake. I was not at all interested in playing. These are all very natural for a boy. For a young boy, 6-7-year-old boy, it is very natural to be for Chanchal. He goes, runs here and there, and he cannot control his senses. Something he wants, then he wants it. He says ice cream, ice cream. He goes on screaming for the ice cream. And again, third thing is he's interested in always playing. But Narada says, by the mercy I received from these Vedantis, I developed all these good qualities. And I became Anuvartini, so obedient. Generally, children are not obedient. And most of the grastas, they have a good experience. How children, when you say something, they do exactly opposite to what you say. They want to prove that they are disobedient. They don't want to listen to you. So, but Narada, a small boy, became obedient. Chakruhu kripan yadyapi tulya darshana. Now, there's a very interesting point here, that is, yadyapi tulya darshana. These Vedantists are those people who are who were served by Narada, a small boy. These Vedantists, they were tulya darshana. They had an equal vision. Equal vision means they were not discriminating one person to other person. They had total equal vision. That means they're totally absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Brahma bhuta prasanatma na sojati na kanchati samam sarveshu bhuteshu. For them, there was no difference between a thief, the police. There's no difference for them. They just see everybody as part and parcel of Krishna. That is all called Tulya Darshinaha, Sushushamane Munivalpa Bhashini. And what Narada did, unto such great souls who had developed Prema Bhakti, he went and served them. And Alpa Bhashini, generally, boys are always doing bad. Children say, if they just sit next to you, they go on biting an ear. Something or other they go on telling. So, but these, this boy, Narada, he was Alpa Bhashini. He did not speak much. Sushrushamane, whereas rather he actually served them without talking much. He was only interested in serving them. So that is the nature. That is the position which Narada attained. Now, this verse contains some very interesting points which we'll discuss. Let me read the purport, some points. Now, as such, Vedavadis, the followers of Vedanta, indicate pure devotees of the personality of Godhead. Such Vedantavadis or Bhakti Vedantas are impartial in distributing a transcendental knowledge and devotional service. To them, no one is enemy, no one is a friend, no one is educated or uneducated, no one is especially favorable, nor one is unfavorable. The Bhakti Vedantists see that the people in general are wasting time in false sensuous things. So they became very compassionate. Now, there are two arguments here. The Vedantists, they showed mercy on Narada, this boy, because he had good quality. Some people say, no. The Vedantists gave mercy unto him because they are Tulya Darshana. See, in this world, there are nice people. They also very merciful. But they show mercy seeing good qualities in others. If they see good qualities, then they show mercy. If they see bad qualities, they show hatred. If they don't see any qualities, they're just neutral. But the Vedantis were not like that. Their mercy was ahetuki kripa. So what you get from a devotee is ahetuki kripa. What you get from the materialistic world, materialistic people, is hetuki kripa. So definitely you'll find there are some people in the world, they also show some mercy. Like there are some organization which is now showing mercy during Corona. But it is hetuki. I am a Rajasthani, so I'll only show mercy to the Rajasthanis. So there is some hetu. My gaon wala, I'll show mercy, not others. And somebody says, oh, these are all Bengalis. So how long you're going to give them some rice and some sabji? You have to be compassionate unto them. And then because they are Bengalis, my people, so what I'll give them some machar jol. So what about mercy to the fishes then? You're killing so many fishes. So only mercy, it is ahetuki, comes from only where? From the devotees of the Lord. So in the Vedantis, they showed mercy, it is ahetuki. They are no friend, no enemy. Educated, non-educated, doesn't matter for them. Both same. They keep them same platform. And then Bhakti Vedanta see that the people in general are wasting time. So they become more compassionate, and they want somehow or other to engage people in serving Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada talks about Varnashrama. Ultimately, he says that is a process of successful family planning to beget children for complete perfection without being self-controlled, without being disciplined, without being fully obedient. No one can become fully successful in following the instructions of spiritual master. And without doing so, no one is able to go back, come back to Godhead. Now, in the first chapter, first canto, second chapter, text number 16 onwards. If you go to text number 16, 1.2.16, devotion has been described. What is bhakti has been described in 5 plus 1 verses. These are the famous verses which Srila Prabhupada quoted on his Jaladuta, Markine Bhagavata. When he saw people engaged in America, they were in Tamoguna, Rajastamo Bhava. And he thought, oh Lord, it is because of you they are bound. And now, only because of you they can be delivered. So please give me the strength by which I can speak Krishna Katha. Now, by hearing this Krishna Katha, I am sure they will attain your love. Even though they are most degraded, they will attain your love. So Srila Prabhupada remembered these 5 verses of Bhagavatam, 17 to 21, first canto, second chapter. And of course, one preceding one, that is the 16th also. He did not write there, but 16 plus 5, 17 to 21. And also the entire practical application of these 5 verses in Narada's life. Srila remembered that also. So then the step-by-step process of how one can progress in devotion, the effect of devotion on the heart of a living entity has been very nicely described in these 5 plus 1 verses. Now, question comes, how does one gets bhakti? Well, somebody got, other person did not get. Why is it so? Because one received the mercy of the Lord, Lord's devotees, other did not receive. Does that mean the Lord's devotees are merciful to somebody, not merciful to others? No. They are merciful to both. But one's heart is now ready for the fructification of bhakti. Other's heart is not yet ready for the fructification of bhakti because his heart is very hard. So, if you want bhakti to grow, first is your heart should be very soft. So don't blame, like one devotee told, some senior devotee. He told, when the senior devotee was actually a president of a temple, he came and told, why are you doing this nonsense? You should be interested in devotion. Why did you do these mistakes? You're trying to break the regulatory principles. You're not doing your sadhana properly. Then this devotee had just imagine how you can misuse the philosophy. He told, oh temple president, you don't have that much bhakti to transfer my heart. Just see. Anyhow, so many things can be told. So here, let us start with this verse. Shushrusho Shaddadharasya Vasudeva Kataruchi 1.2.16 1.2.16 Syan Vasudeva Shushrusho Shaddadharasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatseve Pra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. So one gets bhakti only by how? First, it is mercy of the Lord. Number 1. Mercy of Krishna. Mercy of the Lord through the mercy of devotees. So you can actually say mercy of the devotees. Shushrusho Shaddadharasya. Now the mercy of the devotees is available to us in the form of what? Service to the devotees. That is the second step of devotion. And now, this service to the devotees of the Lord, it gives rise to what? It gives rise to Shraddha. We all know a very interesting verse written by Rupa Goswami. Adho Shraddha tata sadhu sango tata artha nivrittisya tato nishta ruchistata asakti sata bhava sata prema abhidanchati sadhakanamayam premnah sadhurbhavet bhavet kramaha. So there are 9 steps in devotion, that is what we heard. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, while commenting on these verses of Bhagavatam 1.2.17 to 21, he says there are not 9 steps in devotion, there are 14 steps in devotion. 14 steps. Remember this. Not 1 step, not 9 steps, but 14 steps. So let us understand the story of Narada, which Narada himself is telling, in connection with the 5 verses of Bhagavatam, that is 1.2.17-21, and in connection with Sri Vishwanath Thakur's commentary, explaining there are 14 steps, 14 points in these 5 verses. Now, first one is mercy. And mercy translates in the form of service, Shushrusha. And that is how faith comes. Though it is mentioned as Ado Shraddha, but that Shraddha, if somebody asks, where did Shraddha come from? I have Shraddha, he doesn't have Shraddha. Somebody is more Shraddha, somebody is less Shraddha. Where did that come from? Serving a devotee. Knowingly or unknowingly. And how does one get service of a devotee, other doesn't get service of a devotee? It is called Sukruti. How does one get, other doesn't get? It is because of Ahetuki Kripa. Ahetuki, there is no question and answer. Why? There is no answer, because Ahetuki, it is causeless. So, there is only one way, causeless mercy of devotee. If that is not the cause, then it is from the previous life. A devotee brings his devotion from the previous life. Ultimately, if you ask why did he get devotion in the previous life, it comes to only one point, that is causeless mercy of the devotees. So that is why this verse is talking about Tulya Darshinaha Aham Puradita Bhave Bhavan Mune Dasyastu Tasyaschana Vedavadina Nirupito, by the mercy of Balaka Eva Yoginam Sushrushane Pravrushi Nirvikalpitam. So in this way, I got the mercy of the devotees who are Yadyapi Tulya Darshanam Shushrushmane Munyopi Alpa Bhashni. I got all these things. Now, second, first is Ahetu Kripa, causeless mercy. Second point is their service to the devotees. The third is Shraddha. Now, once you have Shraddha, what do you do? After Shraddha, then comes Sadhu Sangha. Ado Shraddha ta Sadhu Sangha. The Sadhu Sangha here refers to what? Initiation. And after Sadhu Sangha, you have one more thing called Spriha. And after Spriha, you have Bhajana Kriya. And our Bhajana Kriya, then we have Anartha Nivritti. Then Nishta, Sruti, Asakti. Then Bhava, 11th one is Bhava. And after 11th Bhava, then there is Prema. And after Prema, there is the 13th one, that is known as Sakshat Darshan. And after that, there is Madhurya Anubhavam, experience of Krishna's sweetness. So these are the 14 steps. The 9 has expanded into 14. And we are going to see the story of Narada in these 14 steps. And for that, Srila Vishwanath Thakur, he writes a beautiful verse. Satam Kripa Mahat Seva Satam kripa mahat seva shraddha gururpadashrayah bhajaneshu spriha bhaktir anarthabangastata nishta ruchisa shakti sratihi premartha darshanam harer madhuryena anubhava ityartha shyu chaturdashe. He said there are 14 steps in these 5 verses plus 1 Shushusha answer is 16, 5 plus 1, and the entire story of Narada. So this is how we are going to see how Narada is going to Narada story is being nicely analyzed. So coming back to uh, our story here, that is Narada story. In this particular words, what we are discussing now, that is the 24th verse, we have the description of Narada's, how he attained bhakti. And 4 levels of devotion are described in one verse, or 4 steps are described in one verse. Mercy of devotees he got, and now after getting the mercy of devotees, what he got? Service to devotees. Shushrusha, the word is just chi. Shushrusha mane in the 24th verse. So your service to devotees. Then what happened is, Munayo Alpa Bhashani, he gradually developed faith. What happened was, Narada used to come every day along with his mother, and then mother used to give some vessels, wash vessels, and give it to class, wipe it and dry it. And somehow uh, they saw this boy is doing service, and they felt merciful. And when they felt merciful, this boy, instead of playing here and there, he was very silent and hearing to them. Good qualities developed because of the mercy of the devotees. And seeing the good qualities, the mercy increased. When the mercy increased, he developed more good qualities. By that, he developed faith. What was that faith? The faith was, his mother used to wash the vessels and go away. But this boy, Narada, would sit in the place where the Vedantis were sitting. They were in a room, they're sitting outside the door and listening to what they are discussing. In spite of they not knowing, in spite of he not knowing what they are discussing, he was not understanding. Sometimes it so happens, Srila Prabhupada was expressly told, when my spiritual master was giving a lecture, I was not understanding what he's speaking. It was too complicated for me, but I still sat and heard. And that is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur told, this boy is very good. He hears with attention. So whether you don't understand or don't understand, you hear because you have faith that by hearing this, some benefit will happen. That is called faith. Shraddha means what? That even though I don't understand, nothing is clear, but I have conviction. Shraddha Shabda Vishwas Kore Sudra Nishtay. Krishna Bhakti calling Sarva Karma Kritohai. Very powerful statement, this Shraddha. Powerful word, this Shraddha. Now he developed Shraddha. Seeing this Shraddha, what they did, they gave initiation. That is Sadhu Sangha, Diksha. Small boy, 6-year-old boy, was given initiation just by seeing the Shraddha of this boy. So now, after a small break for question answers, then we'll go for how further Narada progressed in devotion step by step toward all these 14 steps. And if you don't remember these 14 steps, it is very difficult to make out what we are talking about. Mercy of devotees, service to devotees, faith, that is Shraddha, and association called initiation. And then we get Spriha. Then we do Bhajana Kriya. After Bhajana Kriya, we have Anartha Nivritti. Anartha Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema, Sakshat Darshan, Madhurya Anubhavam. Sakshat Darshan is, you can see Krishna. Sakshat Darshan, there are two things. You can see in front of you, Krishna in front of you, Other is Krishna within your heart. And ultimately, there is a stage called where you experience the sweetness of Krishna completely. So we'll discuss about these 14 steps further, how it goes after a small break of question answer session. Okay. Question. Sometimes in preaching we discriminate. We think we think we preach to engineers, doctors, IT people, we will get quick results, and we focus on them more. But I feel preaching to uneducated class or the simple devotees is equally important. How can I cultivate this in my life? What should be the mood? As I told, different folks for different loads. Now, whenever I see this thing, but I feel preaching to the uneducated class, how can you define education? That is my question. Just because somebody is a doctor or engineer, that doesn't mean educated. Educated means one who is having these qualities. Amanittam, Madamittam, Shantirarjam, Acharyopasam, the 19 qualities which are there, that is called education. Other thing is not education at all. If you see, Ravana was very educated. What is the use? So-called education. So, our very definition of education is wrong. What to speak of? Then what to speak of identifying who is educated, not educated? I am telling you, these days, only bunch of fools are coming out as engineers and doctors. You can see they have lost their brains. There's no brain in them because of sense enjoyment, excessive sense enjoyment in the hostels. They lost their brains. Anyhow, neither brain is there, nor education is there, neither intelligence is there. So these things what you're talking about, quick results, focus, these terms are managerial terms. So management is the practical execution of philosophy. Let us be very clear. When you talk about focus, results, these are all management. And what is management in ISKCON? The practical execution of philosophy. Our philosophy is Jare Deko, Tare Ko, Krishna Upadesh. Amaragnya Guru Hoy, Tare Desh. This is our philosophy. This is our principle. And now when you want to execute that principle, then it all depends on the nature of the people, what you have, the tendency, the swabhava of the preacher, and the swabhava of the manager, and the mood of your spiritual master, the mood of your temple. So many factors are there. Basically, these are the three things. The local guru, I don't want to say the local guru, the guru who is more frequently visiting your temple, leader, the temple president, and the nature, your nature. Basically, there are three people: your guru, the temple president, or the management, and you. So the mission of your spiritual master, number one, spiritual master means not just exactly yours. The spiritual master who is more frequently visiting there, and the GBC or the temple president, who is having a particular nature, and you have particular nature. So based on these natures, the practical application of the philosophy, Jare Deko, Tare Ko, Krishna Upadesh, changes, isn't it? So whatever is the preaching strategy, to whom, how, when, all these things are management. So and the management principle is that Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Vrijatmanabha Prakrutir Swabhavat. According to your Prakrutir Swabhavat, according to Prakriti, the nature of the person, devotee, preaching should be engaged. There was one boy who was coming to our youth program, and he was very successful in his, as a youth preacher, very successful. That, of course, we have our own definition of success. He established a couple of bases, and he brought many students into the base, so many things. But what happened was, he went to his village, and there he has a great desire that he wants to preach in his village, also make his people on into devotees village. There, he went for 1 month and then came back with a very morose face. And he told me, Roji, uh, nobody is listening to us in my village. They're not Krishna conscious. That village is so horrible. That he went on blasting all those people in the village, the voice, atmosphere. Then I told, what did you do there? He went with the projector, with his laptop, and a device course. And he took a device course for the villagers. And he's talking about all the examples which you get in engineering in the device course, what he's using them. Do you think any village will attend that? I told, when you go to village, talk to them about Krishna Katha, sing some bhajan. Your strategy did not work there. So, principles which should be learned, philosophy should be learned, and management is okay. Depending on the time, place, circumstance, you can change your strategies depending on your mission, requirement, priorities. All these things are there. So your question is pertaining to some managerial issue. So that changes according to time, place, and circumstances. So now you find earlier everybody was just only into some kind of youth preaching. Now the congregation is increased, congregation preaching. Now children preaching has come. So according to time, place, and circumstances, it goes on changing. So principle is more important. Principle is Jaradako Tareko Krishnopadesh. Number 2, Prakrite Swabhavat. Karomi Yagyat Sakalam Prasme. Narayanaya Smarpanaya. So your nature. So somebody's nature is to deal with young boys, and they can make a lot of. Somebody's nature is not like that. He is more into cultivating some high class people, making life members and all. Somebody's nature is to cultivate devotees. Somebody's nature is to just teach Krishna consciousness to already who are devotees. So there is multifarious activities and multifarious ways of preaching. Everything is preaching. And no, nothing is more important, nothing is less important. Everything is transcendental, depending on the consciousness with which you are doing the activity. This is what I can comment on this particular thing. Now, these 14 stages are there described in the Shastra, or it is an analysis of Vishwanath Thakur. Now, Shastra means what? Shastra, which gives sashan, that's called Shastra. So these Shastras, when the commentary is given by a bona fide Acharya, that commentary is also Shastra. So Vishwanath Thakur, whatever commentary he gives, is no less than a Shastra. Actually, the very understanding of what your Shastra, Vishwanath Thakur's commentary is more important than the Shastra, by your definition of Shastra. Because it is they who actually expand the idea and give it to us. And now, when the Acharyas, when they give the commentary and give these 14 points, when Rupa Goswami gives these 14 points and 9 points, now it is also described or understood that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur came to expand on what Rupa Goswami wrote. Because he is Rupa Goswami himself. Not only expand, to refine. Rupa Goswami wrote Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And based on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Jiva Goswami wrote a commentary. Of course, commentary is excellent. Durgama Sangamane Tika. And the same Rupa Goswami comes at Vishwanath Thakur's and then corrects, gives a different idea of what Srila Jiva Goswami himself has written. So what Srila Vishwanath Thakur gives is non-different from Shastra, and they're more important than Shastra. So, and he also gives a logic behind it. He just doesn't speculate these 14 points. He fits his 14 points so perfectly. He adds 5 more things into the 9 things which are existing already. What are the 5 things which he adds? Let us be very clear. He adds 2 things before Shraddha. Because somebody may ask you a question, where did Shraddha come from? Ado Shraddha. Oh, if somebody asks, where did Shraddha come from? A service to devotees. So he added 1 before that. Now, why one gets service to devotee, other doesn't get? No, it is only ahetuki kripa. And ahetuki is the ultimate. There is no question, any reason. You have to use the word ahetu. So if you say why, there is no why there. Okay, so you have to add 2 before Shraddha. Now, many people get initiation, but not everybody does bhakti according to the same intensity. So for that, he adds one more point between sadhu sangha, that is initiation, and bhajana kriya, because not everybody gets the same intensity of bhakti. Not everybody does bhakti in the same intensity, because there is priha. The affection which you have for the spiritual master, that affection rebounds as a spriha into your heart. So when that spriha is there, based on that intensity, spriha means actually the intensity, you do bhajan. So he adds, that is the third one he added. And he kept everything same. After prema, what is there? What I'm going to do after prema? You get to experience the Lord's sweetness. For that, you need to have darshan. That is, santas sadeva hridayeshu lokenti darshan. And then anubhava. So prema leads to aswadana, anubhava, and after anubhava, there is no question anything. That is the only thing, that is prayojana. So in this way, he has technically added 5 more things which are clearly described, where 2 before, 1 middle, and 2 at the end. Okay. Narad Muni is in Shantarasa. How could he appreciate and encourage Vyasadeva to describe Lord's pastime in all the other rasas, especially Madhurya rasa? What is exactly the Chaturmasya? It is said that Lord sleep on those days of Shayana Ekadashi. Please, can you explain? Okay. First, let me see. Narad Muni is in Shantarasa. All devotees, do you think the cowherd boys of Krishna, they don't know Krishna, he plays with the gopis, he enjoys with the gopis? The knowledge is there. Like, for example, take a house, family, father, mother, and they got their son married. And now the newly wedded wife has come to stay in their house. Bahu has come. Now, do you think the father, mother, though they have atsalya towards son, they don't know what he does with his wife? They know. So, that doesn't mean that they don't know. They know. Narada, he knows. He knows the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis. That is why in the Narada Bhakti Sutra, when he went on defining bhakti, according to Shandilya, and according to Garga, bhakti is this. According to him, this is bhakti is this. And then, according to me, Narada, say, according to me, what is bhakti? Yatha Vrajavadu. According to me, bhakti means what the Vrajavadus have done for Krishna. That is bhakti. So in this way, Narada is abhigya. He knows everything about Krishna. But that doesn't mean he is in Madhurya Rasa. He wanted to see the Madhurya Rasa devotees. Appreciation is there. So in this way, there is nothing wrong that Narada asking Vyasa to write the pastimes of Krishna. When you say pastimes of Krishna, Krishna's pastimes are in all the 5 rasas. So he has to describe that. Now, going further, what exactly is Chaturmas? Chaturmas is those 4 months where the Lord sleeps. It is described in the scriptures about this Chaturmas. I don't know the story exactly, the entire story. There is a pastime behind it. There is a story behind it. Just hold on. Today, I read many years back. I don't want to tell a story, a wrong story. I'll do some research on the story and then tell you the story, pastime behind it. So on this this thing, I can tell only later, after some time. Means maybe tomorrow I'll do that. Next question from Vijay Krishna Prabhu. Non-devotee suffering is due to their karma, but devotee suffering is Krishna's will. Generally, Lord interferes in pure devotee's life. This is also applicable to Kanishta Adhikaris. No, the Lord directly deals with the devotees. That doesn't mean the karma factor is not there. The Lord arranges the karma of the devotees in such a way that they surrender to Him. So in one sense, the Lord is directly dealing, and the karma factor cannot be totally excluded. Whereas, according to the non-devotees, it is only the karma factor which is existing. Whereas to the devotees, the Lord's will supersedes the karma factor. That doesn't mean karma factor is not there at all. Like many devotees, when they are having some experiences, either good or bad, or we can see the chart and predict that something is happening, but that doesn't exclude Krishna's control over it. And Krishna's control is there. That doesn't mean the karma factor is totally excluded. Both are mixed in a very nice way, in a very harmonious. Ultimately, Krishna is a giver of karma. He is a karma phala pradata. Karma doesn't come from other source. So it is the arrangement of karma which Krishna does for a devotee in such a way he can get an opportunity to surrender more and more. That is what I can answer you. Now, Kanishta Adhikari, yeah, Adhikari is also Adhikari. Kanishta Adhikari is also a big thing. It's also not a joke. Become Kanishta Adhikari. To become a Kanishta Adhikari is also a big thing. Don't think just Kanishta Adhikari is a useless person. Big thing. He's a devotee. You said that Bhagavad Puran was written. So what was there before Narada's intervention? Before Narada's intervention, there was also Bhagavatam, because Narada by the time had written 18 Puranas. Actually, he wrote only 17 Puranas. The 18th one, the Vishnu Purana, 18th one is one of the Puranas called Vishnu Purana. He just took what his father wrote. So in Vishnu Purana, we say Parashara Uvacha. Parashara writes, his father wrote. So in one sense, 18 Puranas were actually compiled, were all kept in the library. So in that, there was one called Bhagavad Purana. So now, for that, you had to see the 7th chapter, first canto, 7th chapter, text number 8. So you have a computer, you can open that. You can read the translation. It clearly says, Sa samhitam bhagavatim kritvanukramya chatmajam sukam madhyapayamasa nivrutti niratam munihi. So there, what is the meaning of the word anukramya? Anukramya, kritva anukramya means by correction and repetition. So what did you do? Corrected? Corrected means you can only correct things which is already something is written, then only it can be corrected. So Bhagavatim kritva anukramya. Kritva means having done the correction. So if you read the translation, the great sage Vyasa, after compiling Srimad Bhagavatam and revising it. So he had compiled the Bhagavatam and revised it, taught it to his son. Why did the revision? Because of the interference of Narada. Narada came and then gave the knowledge. So what did he do? Vyasa took the Bhagavatam which he had written, which is actually almost like the other Puranas only, and based on the instructions of Vyasa, he completely revised it and then brought it to the voltage. The voltage of Bhagavatam had increased because of that voltage is prema. Prema puvartho mahan. Before that, Bhagavatam would not give prema. But this Bhagavatam, after revision, that gave prema. Prema became the highest goal of Bhagavatam. So this is what it is. Last time the definition of Swabhava was asked. Can you please explain it again? You had explained that Swabhava is that which is from birth. Can you please explain more about it? Yeah. It's good that you're asking me. Okay, before that is something is there. Thank you for the clarity, Prabhuji. Could you please explain Spriha further? It is crucial to SP life. For it precedes Bhajan Kriya and Ananda Nivritti. Very relevant. Yeah, I'll do that when I'm going to talk about this further steps, because we are only reached up to Diksha, 4 steps. 25th verse onwards, I'll talk about it. 25th verse, first line, it talks about Spriha. Uchishtalepan anumodito dvije sakrutsma bhujje tada pasta kilvishahi. Uttishhtalepan, very interesting that verse, Uttishta. 25th verse, if you see, 1.5.25, next verse which you want to discuss. So when we come to that verse, I'll talk about it more. Now, next, last time the definition of Swabhava was asked. Can you please explain it again? You had explained that Swabhava is that which is from the birth. Can you please explain more about it? Yeah, Swabhava is something which is by birth. Why? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Karanam Gunasangasya Sad Asad Yoni Janmashu. Now, whatever modes in which we leave the previous body, Gunasangasya, we get the birth. Karanam Asad Asad Yoni Janmashu. We get different species of birth. Even within the one species, we have different grades. We get those grades because of the association with which association we had with the modes of nature in the previous life. In this way, whatever birth we have at that time, we have a particular influence in the modes of nature, of course, which are reflected or projected or reflected in the form of your birth chart. So that is why the birth chart of a person becomes very relevant to know what kind of nature that person has. Depending on the nature, people, the acharyas, used to engage them in different services. So this very some siddhas, some great personalities, acharyas, by their own sadhana bhala, they are able to recognize the disciples of Swabhava and engage. But that is what happening now in ISKCON. By their own sadhana bhala, they are trying to analyze what the disciple is and try to engage. But the system is not that. The system is to see the astrological chart and find out the Swabhava and then engage that person. We are not so matured as an organization till now to do that. But generally, this is what is done. In traditional gurukuls, and also in many traditional occupations, first they see the chart of a person and then understand the Swabhava, and depending on that, they would engage that person. We are just only 50-year-old movement. As the time goes by, definitely we are going to have our own in-house expertise in study of the psychology of a person and engage. Of course, the modern psychology and all these things, they are not so much effective in trying to analyze the nature of a person as much as the astrology does. So I don't want to dwell into this thing too much, because it will divert the attention and you will become interested in astrology more than Bhagavatam now. That is why I'll just go ahead. It is by birth. That is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, if you see the 3rd chapter, he says, Nahi kshanam jatu tishtita karma karyate avashak karma sarva karma prakritirjir gunai. That is Swabhava. So it is a Swabhava which drives a person to do a particular activity in a particular way. So it is very complicated. Now, last time you mentioned that Varnashrama is material, but the goal of Varnashrama is to please Vishnu. Anything connected to Krishna is spiritual. Daiva Varnashrama is spiritual, but Asri Varnashrama can be called material. And in ISKCON, we talk about establishing Daiva Varnashrama. Yeah, Dharmaha Swanishchitaha Pumsan Vishwakshena Katasuyar Utpadi Diditim Shramaivi Kevalam. Now, I'll try to mention here, Daiva Varnashrama is spiritual. A flower offered to Krishna becomes spiritual. Actually, it is spiritualized. Daiva Varnashrama is spiritualized. The spiritualized Varnashrama is called Deva Varnashrama. But that doesn't mean flower is not made up of Panchamahabhutas. Suppose you offer lotus flower. The lotus flower is grown in water. It is water, earth, water, fire, air, ether. So it is spiritualized. But that doesn't mean it is spiritual in nature. Whereas knowledge, Krishna Katha, that is totally spiritual nature. That is Achidananda. So in that sense, Varnashrama is material. Daivi Varnashrama is spiritualized Varnashrama because you're connecting, you're bringing that in connection with Krishna. So if you just think that is all in all, that is spiritualizing our nature in service of Krishna, that is all in all, then we are not Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we are Madhvas. If you want to become Gaudiya Vaishnava, then you should know that there is something beyond Varnashrama. Ye hoy bahya aage kohar, ye hoy bahya aage kohar, ye hoy bahya aage kohar. Till the time, then he came to the point of Stane Sitam Sudikotam Tanuvang Manobir Ye Pray Sojito Vijitata Istilokyam. Then Ramanan said, Eh hoy. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India, when he went to Udupi, Raghuvara Tirtha was Acharya at that time. He did some research and found out who was the Acharya Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke. Raghuvara Tirtha. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told, what talk about sadhya and sadhana? Then Raghuvara Tirtha told, just engage yourself according to your varna and ashrama, and to satisfaction of Vishnu is perfect. Then Mahaprabhu chastised him. No. Of course, that doesn't mean that Mahaprabhu rejected varnashrama. So we have a very two sides in ISKCON. One, varnashrama. Others say, Bhagavad Gita, just preach Krishna consciousness. But actually, we need to see the harmony between them. Varnashrama has its 100% utility in Krishna consciousness. It is required. Because until as you establish Varnashrama, you cannot create a society where you can practice peaceful Krishna consciousness. Now, that doesn't mean that Varnashrama is a whole purpose of the movement. Is to establish Varnashrama. No. Whole purpose of the movement is Krishna Prema, which is very, very ahead. And there is a point in your, no, there are some people who don't require it at all. They are just self-satisfied. For them, tadasya karyam vidyate, like yasyat pratreva, very few. So if you don't create Varnashrama, you will only create a very few devotees who are long-term standing. They will come, join the movement, and then leave. Why they are leaving? Because there is a Varnashrama. So the biggest problem in the movement is not making devotees, to hold the devotees. Why we are not able to maintain the devotees? It is because there is lack of Varnashrama. So if there is Varnashrama, because not everybody is just Yat Pratireva Syat, Atmitaptasya Manaha, Atmaneva Santushtha. They are not many, very rare. So is our movement only meant for those people? No, it's meant for everyone. So everyone means you bring into the Varnashrama into picture. So in this way, you have a proper understanding of Varnashrama and its utility and its position in the context of movement. Okay. Nimaya Pandit had teaching classes but not Gurukul. Prahlad would come back home after the classes. Prachetas, Haryavashas and Salvas and 10,000 Lakshas didn't went to Gurukul but to do tapasya. There are similar examples in Shastras. So it appears that there was other system of training other than Gurukul system in the Vedic times, where the child was not living in the Guru's ashram, away from the parents till the age of 25. Okay. I never thought about this kind of thing. See, I was in a Gurukul for 2 years, not in the ashram. I used to just go for 3 hours, then come back home. But that is a compromise. Of course, compromises were there to the standard system at different periods of time in the past, depending on the situation, depending on time, place, and circumstance. There's The system of being with the guru, having a guru, is always there. Now, till the age of 25, going home and coming back, that system was also there, but that doesn't mean it is a perfect system. Imperfectness was always there in different periods of time. Now, when you talk of, you gave the example of Prahlad Maharaj used to come back home, the classes. I don't know, he used to come back twice. He came back. First time he came back, Hiranyakashipu, okay, first part. Second time. But that doesn't mean that he was not staying in the Gurukul. There's no concrete proof about it. Of course, it is not such a big thing to have a system where the child stays with the Guru itself and he comes back home often. In the Upanishads also, there are descriptions of Uddalaka and Mrugoi Varunihi, where they used to stay with the parents. Staying with the parents is nothing wrong. And going to school and come back, there's nothing wrong. Because when they go to Guru, the Guru will tell the same thing. And when they come home, the parents also tell the same thing, practice the same thing. But now the situation is so horrible that if you have a school, then your child comes and learns all wonderful things in our school, maybe ISKCON school, and he goes back home and he finds everything nonsense going on there, exactly opposite.